talk, real talk, real talk, real talk, real talk.
Welcome to Real Talk for Real Teens, the show where we uniquely combine the information teens need with the entertainment teens want.
Hi guys, welcome to Real Talk for Real Teens. I am Kim Creighton. I am your host as always, so welcome to today's show. Today we have with us Joshua Davidson. Joshua, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm good. So why don't you tell my audience something about you?
Yeah, my name is Joshua Davidson. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old. I run actually two separate companies as well as work with different companies all across the entire world, actually, not even just the country. I also publicly speak about entrepreneurship, social media. I help consult companies as well. So lots of different variables about me.
All right, cool. We're going to jump right in this. So what 21st century skills will we be talking about today, Joshua?
Cool. So I figured we'll talk about creativity and critical thinking.
All right. As always, I like to start the conversation with my guests giving their definition of the skills we'll be talking about so that everybody will be on the same page. Totally.
So it's actually unique, right? I think creativity is a lot of people look at it as kind of like a one-dimensional definition. But in my opinion, creativity can be applied to anything. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because I really do believe that what we're talking about today, creativity, it really circles to really coming up with an idea, a concept, and going with it, no matter what it is, if it's a business, it's art form, whatever the case may be. And I think that it's very relevant to what I do every single day. And critical thinking, because I think one of the things I do best and that what's allowed me to be to the point where I am now is being able to kind of think a couple steps ahead and understand exactly where people are going, what they like, the market, where our businesses go, and the ability to understand just using common sense and things that anyone really has in them and making that a practical skill. I figured those two will be very relevant to what our discussion today.
All right, so let's jump right in it. Let's talk about first of all, how old are you?
Right now I'm 20. I turned 21 in January.
Okay, that's what I figure. You're very young because your voice sounds very young. So you're right in the target. You're right in the target market of the group of people I'm talking to. That this show is everything I'm doing is targeted for. Yeah, I'm targeting everything I do between 18 to 25-year-olds. So you're smack dab in the middle, and this should be a great conversation. So tell us about your businesses and how you've used both creativity and critical thinking to not only start as an entrepreneur at 15, but now you're working with international companies. How do you get from one to the other? How did you get from one to the other?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's important to understand what my companies are first, and then I can kind of apply to it. So Chop Dog is my main company. What we do at Chop Dog is rather unique. We're kind of like a hybrid between what's known as a business incubator or accelerator meets a development firm that most people probably are more familiar with. And what we kind of do is we work with people who are very passionate about an idea, and we help actually make it become a reality. We'll work with them every step of the way, and we do everything from mobile development to the web development to the website design to the video production, the content writing, even the legal end. And we'll help build their product, build their brand, build their company, help introduce them into a market. We'll help get them their initial users, help them get through news media sources, things like New York Times, Huffington Post, TechCrunch, Mashable. We'll help them raise early investing money. We'll literally help catapult their companies, build their companies, and make things happen, right? We work with people every day where we work for ideas, and you think to yourself, wow, why doesn't this idea already exist? And, it's important now when you apply to what we're talking about, creativity and critical thinking here, it really comes down to it's really simple. We're building companies every single day. And I think you need a blend of the two because creativity is where the idea originates, right? And how you're going to come up with practicality behind it, how it's going to solve an issue. But you need the critical thinking aspect because you need to understand what you're going to do to make that idea happen, how are you going to accomplish that idea, and not just accomplish that idea, but how are you going to grow, how are you going to scale it, how are you going to find users, how are you going to make it so people actually want to use it, it's going to solve real value, add real add a real value, a utility to everyday lives. So, yeah, it really, those two words really kind of combine into like one mega word, which is you've got to come up with something that you would use. And that's where the creativity comes in, something that really solves value and provides a utility to your day-to-day life. But then you need to critically think. You need to come up with how are you going to get there? How are you going to accomplish that idea? How are you going to build that idea? And in essence, that's what we do at Chopco. And that's how we build our products, our companies, and work with others. We're taking those two very important foundations and we're applying it to everything we do, every project, every customer, every product, every app.
And I like how you match those two up nicely. It's like the creativity is the idea, and the critical thinking is the application. And that's why I think a lot of young people will fall short. They have the great ideas, so they have the creativity. It's the follow-through. You know, they'll say, oh, I want to go to college. Oh, I want to get this job. And then when you ask, so what are you doing to do that? There is no plan. There are no steps. There are no action steps. There's nothing. There's just this idea, this great creative opportunity and possibility, but nothing, no critical thinking behind it. Like, who do you even go to if you want to do X, Y, and Z? What field is it in? How do you move? You know, they don't even have that, those two things. So I love how you match those two up really nicely.
Totally. They're so vital to success. So, yeah, you know, it's something we are very, very, very proud of. And we get to really make people's dreams become a reality, too, on top of it. So it's really something that it's just incredible what we get to do every single day. I mean, I think we try really not to take for granted what we're accomplishing and what we're able to do and make a difference in people's lives. Yeah,
because again, it's not just, you know, the entrepreneur or whatever, guys. What we're talking about, yes, Joshua works in that environment, but we're talking about just everyday life. If there's something you need or want to get done, that creativity piece is the spark, is the passion behind it. But equally, there has to be that action, that critical thinking of, this is what I want to do, this is what I need to do. What are the steps? What are the processes? Who are the people I need to connect with? All that's a part of critical thinking.
Totally, 100% agree.
So tell us about the social. So you told us about one of your businesses.
So the other one's Subtle. So it's interesting. This is actually product-based, and Subtle originated from Chop Dog. What happened is we really saw Indeed through Chop Dog about it's very difficult for everyday individuals to basically control their online presence. Look at, if you're an entrepreneur today, and I'm sure for your audience, for those who are interested in starting a business, things they have to consider. You have to update your website, send out newsletters, store all your documents and files, manage your team, run your emails, run your customer relation management, the ability to market yourself through social media. It goes all over the place, right? There's 100 different things, 100 different tools out there, and we looked at it and we're like, this is very, very cluttered. Different user experiences, it's not very effective in price point, and we basically said to ourselves, why can't there be a better alternative, one where it works on every device, it connects everything we do, and just works. So Subtle basically combines everything into this one platform that's absolutely gorgeous and works on any given device. So the ability for you to update your website, store your newsletters, send out newsletters, manage your files, manage your team, manage your customers, manage your contacts. It's like a CRM, a CMS. It's everything you ever expect on steroids, but designed so everyday people can use it. And the beauty of it is, the big thing we ask ourselves is how can we provide real value, and how can we make it so even the most blacklisting technical know-hows can use it. And the solution is very, very simple. How do you make it so anyone can use it? You make it so it does it for you automatically. A great example is someone contacts you on your website for your business. They give you usually their name, their email, their telephone number, right? And what it does here is automatically put the information in your address book. So let's say I want to look up Kim. I can type in Kim. I can see all your information without me ever putting it in there. I can go on your name and look at every newsletter you've ever received from me, every time you ever filled out my contact form, every email thread we've ever had with each other. The last time you've been on my website, how many pages you visited on my site, what top pages do you visit on my site, where you're visiting me from. Basically taking this data and combining it all. And the most beautiful part about it is it takes no user interaction. The product does it for you. And the beauty of it is we figured out once you experience where all your favorite tools and apps work together, you can never go back because you really figure out, oh my, it just makes life easier. And it just makes a difference that really adds true value that most people don't even realize exists in the world.
Well, what you're saying is not only what you said, but what I've heard is, from my perspective, is you made it possible for, or that product makes it possible for the business owner the ones who are overwhelmed and the ones who think that, who have it down, but to make it very, very much a personal experience for their customers. Because if I can
100%.
if I can aggregate all that information of how you contact me, be it Twitter, Facebook, you came on my website, and then and on top of that, know what pages you visited, how long you were there, I can really start to really tailor your experience and the things that you need.
Exactly. You can really start curating an entire new experience directed to each individual. A great example is you want to send out a newsletter. One thing that this platform does, nobody likes spam, right? Nobody hates it. But the reason why most people hate advertising online, usually it's clutter. I think that's the best way to describe it, right? It's just stuff that's irrelevant to you. You don't care about it in the way. So our idea is how can we make it so even something as simple as an advertisement can actually become an experience to the individual. And a great example is really simple. On your newsletter app, for example, instead of sending it to a mailing list, imagine because all the data is already being collected, you can send it to everyone in the city of Philadelphia who's been on your pricing page in the last 30 days. Or you make your website so this page looks like this for New York City, but looks like this for San Francisco. The ability to target your audience in a way where at a human level where you can really take these variables and make an experience individualized, but at the same time make it so even the business owner can do it without a frustrating experience, that they can do it without any technical know-how whatsoever.
Wow, yeah. I'm really digging that. So let's talk about. So we talked about what you're doing. What are you seeing because again you're smack dab in this group. What are you seeing with your peers as it relates to their ability to be both critical thinkers and being creative?
Well, then again, I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit in the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said how since we've talked about what you've done, let's talk about, because again you're smack dab in the middle of that group, that 18 to 25-year-old group. Let's kind of turn it towards your peers and talk about what have you seen or what have you experienced with their abilities in the areas of critical thinking and creativity.
Totally. So I think we're a unique generation because of the fact that we've grown up with this technology, right? We've grown up really in the beginning of the smartphone revolution, where for the first time ever, personal computing, we grew up with it, right? We know the technology in and out. We know what it takes to pick. I'm not saying everyone's as technical like me, and trust me, I'm not even the most technical individual either. But I think it's at a level where we're familiarized with it. So I think what we're seeing is, especially in the critical thinking era, where we have a competitive advantage, which I don't think, it's almost like we have a commodity that never existed before, where for the first time ever, our generation has the ability to build, and especially this age group, build things or help work on things which instantly can be accessed by millions, if not a billion people instantly, right? And in history of our entire, modern era of life, right, we've never had the ability to create a product or create a company or work for a product or a company where you had the instant ability to see the instant satisfaction, instant millions of people using it. And I think that's the most amazing thing. And that takes a lot of critical thinking, though, because it also leads a lot less marginal error where you publish a mistake, you do something which ruins the user experience. You can offset millions of people's lives just like that, or, maybe inconvenience them, or whatever the case may be. And it really makes an interesting thing where I really feel like those who get it, and especially in this age group, are using what they've learned in order to apply themselves. And but it does take a lot of critical thinking in that regard, because every pixel you put on the screen is going to be used by someone. And it's not like you're mass producing a prototype first, putting a real product out there. So it comes with this amazing opportunity that never existed before, but it also adds a lot of pressure and a lot of skills that you need to be able to critically think and understand how to organize yourself and how to execute a plan and how to create that product or whatever your role might be. But I really think that's really practical, especially in this age group, because more than ever, people in this age group are especially being ate up by like the big companies, right? Apple, Google, Facebook, and it's more and even more building their own companies, their own startups. The fundamentals that you kind of have to learn and really work with.
And the thing that I tell young people all the time is because you have this. First of all, you're in this environment that's, like you said before, was never created before. I mean, it's just being created now. So your parents, I don't have the background to help you as if it was a book. I know books. Books have been around forever. I can tell you how to use books. I can only know how to advise you if I have used it. But yet, it's probably more native to you because it's what you've grown up with. It's your native language. So with that said, to me, it's a secondary language. That's a great way to put it. For me, it's secondary language. It's something I've had to adapt. And for you guys, it's something you knew you knew from that first thing you touched. What I find, though, is, and this is the creativity, again, with the partner with the critical thinking piece, young people are not effectively moving from using it as a toy, to using it as a tool. And that's where go ahead.
I think it's kind of like the same people who are like saying, right, that kids are playing too much video games. I really think that, you always get the extreme negatives and extreme positives with that kind of logic, because I think that people growing up with technology, many do probably use it as toys, but those are people who also can grow up and then want to make these toys happen their own, right, or learn the fundamentals. And I've seen it firsthand where a good friend of mine probably played video games more than anyone ever met in my entire life. What does he do now? He works for one of the biggest video game design companies in the entire world. He's doing what he loves every day. He loves video games growing up so much now he makes them. And I also think another unique standpoint is, you're right, there's no books on how to do it, and there's also not that many people who you can go and turn for advice or feedback. We're in this era where you're going to see a lot of mistakes, and you already see it. Look at the rise and fall of MySpace and the growth of Facebook and the privacy and the NSA, what's going on right now as far as getting watched, right? We're in a time where I think the history books are going to start being wrote, and we're going to start seeing some real human fundamentals, which generations from now are going to look back and learn from our mistakes and our successes now. And the only way for that to happen is people radically thinking and applying themselves to ways which never existed before. And that's the only way to do it right now, because this never existed before.
And that's what. But let me be clear. I'm not speaking about video games, because video games, specifically strategic video games, the research is showing that is helping develop cognitive development. So no, that's not. When I'm not talking about games, I'm talking about you have a tool. You have a cell. Everybody has a smartphone now. Don't just use it as a toy. You have access to the world. Use it as the tool it can be. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the literal games. I'm talking about when I'm working with young people, and you're asking me questions. If I can Google it, you can Google it. So that's what I mean. That's not their first. That's not always their first thing. Is they're so used to asking others for answers. This is a great tool for you to. You don't have to ask me anything. You can take me out of the picture, and you can find anything you want to.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, the coolest thing in the world too is, if you look at this technology, the ability in the palm of your hand to connect with anyone in real time with anything happening. And not
exactly.
The access to instant information too. Yeah, there's a lot of potential with the technology we have. I mean, the iPhone 5, the generation before, had more technology, it was more powerful than what sent it to the moon for the first time, right? And it's in the palm of our hand. So
exactly. And that's what I'm talking about.
And I mean, the cool thing, too, is, technology is not necessarily cheap. It's not like going to Starbucks and buying a coffee. But if you look at the price point technology right now, it's the cheapest it's ever been for the most powerful devices.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, an example is buy an iPhone for $100 right now, the iPhone 5C. At the end of the day, the grand scheme of things, $100 is nothing, right? Yeah, it's still not necessarily maybe cheap, but compared to what it was and what the value of that $100 can get, it really has never existed before, the opportunity that we see now.
Well, I'm going to switch. I'm going to pivot on that a bit, because you, again, are of this generation that does not, it might be money for you, but for me, it's value. The value I see differently is time. So where you can Google it, I had to go to the library. I had to look in the card catalog, figure out the Dewey Decimal System. I had to go find the book on the shelf. I had to figure out what page it was. All these things that took hours to do, I can just put in Google, how to do this, and a YouTube video pop up. That, to me, is so, I could care less about the cost. I have time.
Yeah, trust me, I probably got my high school degree because of Google. Yeah, I mean, it's the coolest thing. It brings up a lot of awesome psychological discussions where you can talk about this, like the now generation, right, where our minds are actually being rewired to require information instantly, and that makes also our retention of information a lot less, but we have more access to information. Yeah. Then you can start playing like that devil's advocate. But what's more impressive, the ability to retain a lot of information or the ability to have a lot of information at your fingertips? You can look at pros and cons both ways, but it's going to bring up that human experience in an ethical way. But it's a fascinating thing because you can really play both directions. What's really more important, being knowledgeable or having that knowledge at your fingertips, because you can play devil's advocate either way. Each way can try to be successful on its own.
That fits into a conversation I've been having because, everybody has the foreign language as a requirement. Foreign language is a requirement. Foreign language is a requirement. Every college is foreign language is a requirement. Dudes, why are we, I argue that why are we doing that when this generation's primary language besides whatever their native tongue is technology? Why would we force them to learn Spanish? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I said, why would we force them to learn Spanish when they could be, when they're in your time, I could sit across from somebody who speaks Mandarin and put an app between us and we understand each other perfectly. Why am I learning that in school? I'm not going to retain it.
Yeah, a great example is we have a customer we deal with who speaks Russian, fully Russian, but there's no language barrier. We communicate through email. Our email automatically translates both languages.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's one of the things. And that's one of the things that I find that when everybody's talking about how bad the school system is, it cannot keep up with this. They're not going to be in step with where the technology is. It's not going to happen. So you're making kids take foreign languages that, let's be honest, once we got out of those classes, we did not remember that stuff. So you're still making kids do things that don't fit the world in which they have to function in. And that's one of them. And I agree with that 100%. But I also think it brings up some interesting questions about how can we utilize technology and what the tools are here and modernize education. Because I feel like education is lacking. A great example, a good friend of mine founded an online school called Teen Treehouse because he dropped out of school because he didn't like how he was paying $45K a year to learn technology that he would even hire for himself, right? So that outdated. Mm-hmm.
And he created an online education where for $49 a month you get batches, and when a new language is out there, a new coding language or a new platform, the old obsolete badge gets taken away and the new class gets put up, and made it so it's just as attractive for IBMs and Facebooks and Apple. And now for a fraction of the cost, someone pays $500 for 1 year of going on there, is getting a $200K a year job dealing technology for the biggest companies in the world, while kids who are spending $45K a year at MIT aren't getting the same opportunities, and they're spending almost, 20,000%, even more of what you're there. Yeah,
and so that again goes to that creativity. He critical. I don't know if that's a word, critical thought that, but he saw that there was a need, and he used his creativity and his critical thinking skills to provide a service.
Totally. No, yeah, you can see how it applies directly to that. So, 100% agree.
Well, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, Joshua is going to give us 3 tips on how to develop your critical thinking and your creativity skills.
Follow us on Facebook at Real Talk for Real Teens and on Twitter at RTFRT Radio. New or unknown music artists, we need you for the show. If you'd like your own mini concert, please send a request for information to realtalkforrealteens@gmail.com.
Okay, guys, this has gone by very quickly. We are almost out of time. So Joshua, could you please give us some tips on how your peers can develop their skills in critical thinking and critical thinking and creativity?
Totally. So I think number one is I actually tweeted about this earlier. Everyone has ideas, and I've never met anyone who doesn't have an idea pop in their head once a day. If there's an idea in your head, it doesn't matter if it's a business idea, you want to do something in art, just something you want to do that you can't get out of your head, it's probably a good idea to pursue. And you can apply that to creativity and critical thinking pretty logically, right? Because you just apply to what you know and what you can do to make it happen and figure out what you need to do and what you need to learn to happen there. So I think that's number one. Number two, I call it naive optimism. Don't be afraid to let me backtrack. I think naive optimism really applies to this, and I think the most successful people I've ever met have this outlook in life where they're naive enough to think they can do it, and they're naive enough not to look into so much like what it is and not get overwhelmed. Most people are insane, right? So they realize, it's going to take all this, there's no way I can do it. The most successful people I've learned are the ones who don't look at the barriers, they just go for it, and they're very naive about it in a good way and optimistic that you can succeed and you can accomplish it. That's number two. And then number three really just is, and this comes down more to the critical thinking, you have to surround yourself with people who are like-minded or where you want to be and use their knowledge and their expertise to help you. I know it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but a lot of people, when they look around, they'll realize they're surrounding themselves by people who are not where they want to be, and it translates to them settling and getting to that point. You don't want to do that. And it really comes down a little bit to critically thinking as well, because you have to apply yourself. Who is a positive influence on your life? Who's where you want to be? And who is someone that you just know that's not where you want to be? And figure out those people that you really want to make as inspiration and make you move forward. And you can figure that out. That you'll see dramatic improvements almost instantly to your personal health, your psyche, your professional, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, thank you, Joseph. Excuse me, I am just lost. I called you Doug and Joseph, and your name is Joshua Davidson. I know that's me sometimes. Yay! Could you give people your contact information? How would people is interested in following you or are interested in your products and services?
Yeah, sure. So easiest way to reach me is through Twitter. You can tweet at me at @Joshua, DASJOSHUA. You can also reach me on my website for Chop Dogs, ChopDawg, ChopDog.com. You can also check out Subtle at GetSubtle, GETSUBTLE, to be subtle, GetSubtle.com. Or you can email me directly at Joshua, JOSHUA, at ChopDawg, ChopDawg.com.
Well, thank you. It's been a joy talking to you. I love when I see talking to wonderful examples of the groups of someone in the group that I love working with. I love working with this age group. So I love to spotlight and highlight those people who I see who are doing things so that your peers can see, hey, it's not just for quote-unquote adults. It's not for I don't have to wait till I'm 40 and 50 to do this. I can do this now.
Totally. I agree. Thank you for having me.
All right. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
The Real Talk for Real Teens community is the premier membership organization for young professionals. Real Talk for Real Teens community provides the most comprehensive resources and education designed to advance the skills, integrity, and value of its members as professionals. Become a member at www.rtfrtc.com. Thank you for listening, and join us every Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for more Real Talk for Real Teens.